with you this afternoon. My name is Adrian Griffiths. I'm the Business Development Director for Gazelle Wind Power. So we all understand that we're going electric. And so last year, I think it was about 26 petawatt hours of electricity that was actually used in the world. By 2040, that's likely to rise to about 50 petawatt hours. And so there's an enormous amount of new capacity to be added, and a lot of that is expected to be coming now from floating offshore wind. And you say, why floating? Well, the technical capacity for onshore, or floating, I'll get it right, for offshore wind fixed bottom is actually about 36 petawatt hours. So that doesn't quite cut the mark. But when you actually look at floating offshore wind, then you're talking about something that the International Energy Agency said could actually supply 11 times the electricity demand of the world by 2040. So that's an incredible statistic. DMV have actually thought that actually at least 300 megawatts of that potential capacity could be installed by 2050. Around the UK alone, in the period of 2030 to 2040, we're expected to see one turbine floating off into the ocean, actually in the rate of one every 1.5 days. So this is an incredibly large industry. We want to be a very significant player in it. And so the early people that built platforms, and these are simply the platforms on which a Siemens or a GE or a Vestas will actually stick a 15 megawatt and even bigger now wind turbine. So we just make the platform itself. There are platforms already in the ocean. There are already platforms out there already generating. A lot of those actually, their heritage is really the oil and gas industry. And so the oil and gas industry are very familiar with the North Sea and places like that, and build very large structures, but not particularly with an eye to cost. And so Generation 1 platforms are there and they're proven. And now actually we would count ourselves as part of a Generation 2 platform, where now the trick is to get to the levelized cost of electricity. So now it's important to actually look and say, why does that platform need to weigh 3,000, 4,000 tons of steel? Why can't we do it for less than 2,000 tons and get the cost down? And so it's really the driving of the cost down so that floating offshore wind can actually achieve its true potential. We have over 10 patents families that have been granted or granted and are in progress on the design. We as an organization want to actually make our money from the licensing of the design so that others can actually manufacture it, depending on who the developer is. But if the developer wants us to actually build the platform, then we're perfectly capable of building the platform too. And so obviously it's about people. And it's always interesting when you actually look at companies like this. So we're still an early stage company, but there's a incredible board being assembled around this. For some of you who might know Javier Cavada, he's actually the president and CEO of Mitsubishi Power in Europe, Middle East and Africa. John Salazar is a successful entrepreneur. This is his second company, the first one that he actually sold for a nice profit. Over on the right-hand side, you have people like Adelino Costas, who is actually involved in one of the Generation 1 platforms. He's a wind developer himself, and so actually very experienced in this space. And then you obviously have people as well who are there, who are the ex-CEO of Siemens Gamesa. So it's really interesting to see characters like this corralling around an idea which actually is set to be able to change the cost of floating offshore wind. We're raising at the moment 10 million euros. Actually, I got a note that as of this morning, we've signed a term sheet on all of that, and so the round is ostensibly closed. But I think with all of these things, people would always say, well, if there's another 2-3 million, then I'm sure for the right investor, a bit of room would be found. And so that's all I was going to say. Thank you very much.